this whole season is a total waste of time, man.
Yeah.
I mean, we talked about this at the beginning of the season. The whole idea that they had tried to accomplish two different things with the quarterback position, and they're just going to fail epically at both. And I don't think they quite failed epically, but um, in terms of the short term, the long term, everything, there's nothing I think that's super positive necessarily. Now things could go well with Trey Lance, but
But doesn't it make sense? Like it doesn't make sense. It's not a smart way to build for the future, but I think it makes sense. The season makes sense if you think of it in terms of Kyle and John trying to keep their standing in the organization. Like they don't really have the luxury of planning 4 years down the line. I think it's pretty clear from the upper ups in the organization. You have to make the playoffs this year.
yeah.
And I think the Niners were feeling like, well, we don't know that we can do that with a rookie quarterback. I mean, they may not be. I mean, obviously you can't do it with Jimmy either because he gets hurt. But I think that explains a lot of their bad decisions.
Yeah, it does. And I think looking
Shortsighted.
back on it, it's like, wow, maybe you should have, I don't know, tried to draft a quarterback in the first place and then work from there. But that's a whole nother,
Yeah. Yeah.
timeline. But I just think it's funny that like going into this week, Kyle seems completely like caught off guard almost. Like that's the one thing I just don't understand at all. He had to know that there was some chance this would happen. And
Right.
now I understand this is like I think from Kyle's perspective, the reason he's like really angry and kind of giving those answers this week is because this isn't what they wanted to do,
No, it's not what
and
they want to do.
and
No,
they have to win these games. And with the
have to.
amount of pressure that there is on Trey Lance now, I think more than
And
anything,
I think he partially feels that Jimmy should be able to play through this injury and that he's kind of like, spiting Kyle because maybe there's bad blood between them or something like that. And it's like you're
right?
gonna do that now on January 2nd. You're gonna do that. Like, you should play through this. Well,
Yeah.
maybe you shouldn't have traded for Trey Lance. I mean, I kind of see it from Jimmy's perspective too. You're gonna get
Oh
rid
yeah.
of me in like 3 weeks, dude. So really, you want me to make this worse so I have to have surgery? Like, I see it from his perspective too.
Yeah, why would Jimmy do that? Like I talked about this on Twitter Spaces, Grant. Like
Yeah,
Jimmy has no incentive to play right now, and nor should he, considering everything the organization has put him through,
yeah,
and like all this. Like to me, it's unfair to Trey. It's unfair to Jimmy. It's
yeah.
unfair to the locker room, and really the people who are most at fault here are the organization. And it's a little frustrating because it's not like we didn't know that going into the season. This
Yeah.
is kind of predictable, like a very, very slow car crash that we've
But
been.
hold on, let's go back. If Kyle and John had received an ultimatum from Jed, like
Okay.
make the playoffs or else, make the playoffs or else. Well, I mean, then they're responsible for their decisions. Like, okay, you traded for Trey Lance. Well, you knew that you didn't really have. He doesn't fit your timeline. Your timeline is right now. You have to make the playoffs, and if you have Trey Lance, it doesn't he's almost like a non-player. You just want him not to hit the field this year. What happens if Jimmy gets hurt? First of all, you're not that great with Jimmy. You're 11-10 in his last 21 starts. You're not
Yeah.
that great with Jimmy anymore. But what happens if he gets hurt? Because he gets hurt every like 4 or 5 games. Where is the plan to keep the team afloat so you make the playoffs and everyone keeps their job? I didn't say. I mean, they like in retrospect, sign a guy like freaking Joe Flacco or whatever. Because now, I mean, you just look at Kyle's face says it all. Kyle's
Yeah.
face says
Yeah.
it all. It
It
does.
does.
Yeah.
Well, and so it's just like it's frustrating because we kind of knew where this was going all along. We knew it had to get to this point eventually. And
Yeah.
for it to get here now where they need to get into the playoffs and they need these two games and all this pressure is on Trey Lance
Yeah.
that wasn't needed, that they didn't want, it's just so unfortunate. And I think,
Yeah.
like I said, they're putting him in a really bad position and it's just unfair
Save
to
us.
everybody.
Save us. Just
Yeah.
save us. And I think Niner fans were a little in denial. They didn't realize how serious things were for Kyle and John.
Oh, yeah.
And I talked about it, not like it's not going to come to that. And then when they went on their run in November, people were thinking about how great they were doing. And now it's like a very sober. I mean, January 1st is always a very sober day. Like, oh,
Yeah.
but like the hangover is like, oh my God, if they lose this game, they're going to miss the playoffs. If they miss the playoffs, someone's getting fired. Whoa, this is a huge week.
Well, and the
Yeah.
Rams need that game now. They might
Yes.
need it with the way the playoffs are working out. Well, but because before about 2 weeks ago, you would even be going into that Rams game like you were saying, Grant, going, oh, you don't need to put in your starters. This game isn't going to matter as much. But
Oh, it's going to matter. Yeah.
Now the stakes are very high, and I think that's a thing where it's like you look at you when you actually like look at everything from John and Kyle's perspective, and you try and understand what they've been going through this year. It makes a lot more sense. But at the same time, you're still like, damn, why'd you go with like why was this the course of action
If
this
they miss the
season?
playoffs, I wouldn't be surprised if Lynch is reassigned and someone is brought in to be
President of
Kyle.
football
Yeah,
operations,
but no longer in charge of the roster, and then neither is
Yep.
Kyle, and someone else is basically brought in to be the boss. Ben, I got to take some more calls, but great call, man. Thank you for telling me that I was talking with no audio. That was helpful. Appreciate it.